Hey y'all, hey, it's Dr. Kesha, and today we're going to be talking about Agenda 2030. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to like, comment, share, and subscribe. So let's take a deep dive into what Agenda 2030 is. It started for me because I wasn't familiar. I am familiar with the UN making agendas. I think the last agenda that I became acquainted with was Agenda 2021. And so that has since passed. So I think someone spoke concerning the UN's agendas and how they make agendas every 15 years. And so I believe it was around 2015 that they again set the goal for 2030, and now they have an agenda, which is a list of things that they're working towards, and the agenda is connected to 17 specific things that they're working towards accomplishing. But what happened was I was on X. All right, so let me get back on X so that you can see what I see and we can talk about it, okay? Again, we're trying to look for some pros and cons. I'm looking for cons at this point because so far I've seen nothing but pros, and that's concerning for me because I'm trying to understand why there's a lot of pros there and not enough cons because there's always this yin and yang thing, this balance thing going on. We need to know why it's not working and why we're even having to do this in the first place. What brought us to this place as a world, and why are we facing these issues, and how can we really solve them if the key players of the problem are still doing what they're doing, which is causing the problem. You understand what I'm saying? And then we're wanting to sanction this, sanction that. We want the people that is being impacted by the folks making the decisions and the choices on their behalf. They're the ones that's causing the problems, but we're suffering as a result. And then we're being asked to make changes when we didn't cause a problem in the first place. And the people that do have the power, they don't want to change their ways. And the ones that want to change it, you have to question their why. You have to question their intentions because you got us to this point in the first place. So, yeah, it's definitely problematic, but let's just start from the beginning. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Make sure you see what I see. So while I was on X, I just happened to stumble upon this picture. And so it wasn't Nikki Joe, but it was actually Concerned Citizen, which is right underneath it. We'll go to Concerned Citizen in just a few moments. But it was actually on his post that I saw this, by the way. And I noticed on Bill Gates, for those that may not know, this is Bill Gates. Hi, Bill. He has a little pennant there. He has something, a logo around there. And so that particular logo, for those that may not know, is the Agenda 2030. All right. So let me show you so that we're all on the same page. Let me see. Let me go to the home so that we can try to see what we see. Nee, 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 nee. All right. So let me just put 2030 in the UN's website and see what comes up. Mhm, 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 mhm. All right, so I'll do it this way because we're having a hard time seeing it. So I'll Google search the word Agenda 2030 and see what comes up and see if what he's wearing on his jacket is the thing, right? So when I search that, and I'm gonna allow you to see what I see by sharing my screen, we're gonna scroll down a little bit. Let's make sure I'm in the right tab, and we'll see what he had on his jacket, right? It matches up, right? This is the logo, pretty much the logo. You'll see that. All right. So what he wore and what we see here that is named or titled Agenda 2030 is what he had on. Let's double check to see if we're correct. All right, we're going to go back to X and see if this is the case. Okay, looks familiar. Yeah, so it seems as if he's promoting this. It seems as if that he's in agreement with what this particular agenda is about, that he's in agreement with its tenets, its purpose, and maybe he's not only an advocate for it, but he's also maybe supporting it financially. All right, in his way. And then when we scroll down to concerned citizen, he actually has a video about
the planet,
30.
including you. So,
All right,
so it's not just an ideology, it's an action plan.
sorry, y'all.
It's a blueprint to inventory and control all land, all water, all plants, all animals, all. So, so it's
So let's go back just a little bit because this is kind of moving super duper fast. And I just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Fair use, fair use. Say this is for educational purposes. We're trying to find out what Agenda 2030 is, okay? And so we're going to have to tap into these different websites and tap into this information that's being shared so that we can analyze this, so that we can come away with at least some information that we can build on, or have some type of clarity, or be inspired to look a little bit deeper. Okay, that's the goal here, for this segment of education. All right. So let's listen to the video, and let's figure out why, the need to warn people. All right, let's go.
So it's not just an ideology, it's an action plan. It's a blueprint to inventory and control all land, all water, all plants, all animals, all production, all construction, all law enforcement, all energy, all food, all information, everything on the planet, including you.
Okay,
All
she
production,
all law
all
enforcement. Let me see what
construction,
number that is.
all law enforcement,
11.
all energy, all food, all information, everything on the planet, including you. Sustainable development. Now, when you see the term sustainable development, of course you think you know what it means, but you really don't know what it means. When you see the term SMART, which is sustainability, monitoring, assessing, rating, and tracking you, there's total continuity between Malthus, a corporate group called the Club of Rome, universities, the philanthropies. You've got the corporate, the governance, and the foundations and organizations, including the Holy See, the Vatican.
Interesting, right? So that's a extreme criticism of this particular agenda. All right, so we're going to continue moving forward. So let me move me out of the way. We saw the picture of Bill Gates. We saw the logo, the little emblem there on his jacket. We listened to the video, and she's basically making a case that it just seems like it's really underneath it all, underneath the concern for humanity, the concern for planet production, the concern for money, our economic system and all the different systems. Underneath all that is the need for the desire to control. Okay, that's what she said. So now we're going to look at the picture that was, right beside Bill Gates, and we're going to read what it says because I think it kind of gives us more context in terms of what it's being interpreted, what this agenda is being interpreted to mean. So based on what's written here, again, I don't know if it's true or not. And I know that oftentimes we share things when we know that it's 100% true. But what I am presenting an alternative thought, that potentially may be true. But I think that in anything that they are doing at whatever level, and in this case, this is a global agenda. This is a global assignment that they have. So I feel like that all of the citizens of the world should be more, educated with regards to this agenda. We are not educated. I've never heard of it. I know that they go from agenda to agenda, but I find that problematic, being that this was, um, instituted, if you will, or agreed upon in 2015, and I'm just finding out about it, and we're about to enter into 2025. So that means, in about, well, let's say about 10 years or so, they have been on path on fulfilling this goal or obligation or agenda that we most of us don't probably know anything about. All right, so now we have people that are pushing back because they're not in agreement with it. And so I want to kind of hear their voice. And then we'll go to the UN and we'll go to their platform to kind of figure out, well, what it is that they're trying to put forward. just to create some balance. Okay, that's what we're trying to do. So right next to, again, some people may think that the pushback is more conspiracy um conversation or language, but hey, let's explore it. All right, it says according to this agenda that it's the great reset. So by 2023 they're claiming that the world wants to reset everything. One world government is the goal. Fourth industrial revolution, technographic, techno, like democracy, graphic, corporation grassy, total dependency on the state, social credit system, carbon footprint and surveillance system, universal basic income for compliant citizens, programmable central banking, digital currency, depopulation, mandatory vaccines for all ages, controlled fertility and reproduction, racial assistance, suicide and abortion laws. I'm sorry, radical assisted suicide and abortion laws, 100% genetically mutated food and soil, ban of all natural remedies and treatments, robot workforce, Internet of Things, Internet of Bodies, microchips, implantable brain interface technologies, consistent exposure to non native EMFs and RFs, 5G, 6G, 7G, destruction of genders, destruction of motherhood and fatherhood, rationing of energy and all natural resources, restriction of non essential air travel, smart cities, drones, facial recognition, cameras, movement sensors, abolishment of private property, control and surveillance of natural and wildlife, restricted access to wilderness, human free zones, sustainable development of the new world order. Is this the world we want for our children is the question. So if this is the truth behind what it is that the UN is presenting, and this is again what the UN is presenting, let's go back to that. If everything that we're reading is true, let me see, then it's not what is being presented again is so vague that it's just hard to believe that beneath the surface that that is the goal for them, because again it looks innocent, right? No poverty, you know, zero, let me just move my mouse out of the way here, zero hunger, good health, well-being, quality education, all good things that many people on the planet want. Gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable, clean energy. This is all a part of Agenda 2030, the 17 points. Decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities. They said that that was the policing part of it. Um, that's interesting. 12. Let me see with that one and that. Make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Make cities, human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Hmm. It says slums on the rise. 1.1 billion urban residents are living in slums. 2 billion more are expected in the next 30 years. Globally, only two, to make sure you see what I see. I just clicked on the one because I was just kind of interested in more information about that because they said it was more about policing for them. Globally, 1 in 2 urban residents have convenient access to public transportation. Air pollution is no longer an exclusively urban problem. Towns experience poorer air quality than cities in East and in the Southeastern Asia. In the developing world, 1 billion people lack access to all weathered roads. 3 in 4 cities globally have less than 20% of their area dedicated to public spaces and streets, much lower than the target of 45 to 50%. The Sustainable Development Goals reports and special editions, unstats, UN.org, etc. So I didn't hear anything about policing in that. I didn't hear anything. But if you were to go on the website, which is the UN.org website, you'll be able to find all this information. So what they generally have is they have events, right? They have the conferences, they have the forums and all the stuff. You can see all the events having the conversation with regards to this particular topic, right? And I believe it's 11, which is make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Let's see. And again, some of the related topics is um, disaster reduction, sustainable transportation, sustainable cities and human settlements, national strategies, and SDG integration. But I still don't see anything about policing. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to listen to what the conspiracies are saying, what the folks that are questioning their agenda and their purpose and their underlying um, agenda of the agenda. I'm just trying to see if it makes sense. I want to say, I guess on their website, that would probably not be the way to go in terms of research to figure out if the criticism or the con is fair. I think going to their website won't help, but hey, it just might. Something might be revealed that would make sense. Now they do have publications, which it might be made more clear within their publications. So it appears that they have several publications here. I think there's 4, or there might be more. Let me see. Yep, there's a whole lot more there. There's a whole lot more there. So they have plenty of information by way of publications. All right, specifically on the topic, which is number 11. Let's go back up. It's to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So you can go there. I didn't see anything about policing. I'm just being fair. So if you were to click on all these points, it would give you even more information about the 17 goals. Now, let's take a peek. Let's take a listen to this particular video. Again, these are people that are not on board with these ideologies, with the agenda. They're not on the same page. So we're kind of looking at, okay, well, why aren't they on the same page? Why don't they agree? It seems like these are very nice ideas. So what's the problem, right? You may ask, because I'm asking. So let's see. Let's hear what they have to say. Let's go.
The UN has lots of agendas, you could say. What is Agenda 2030? Explain it to us.
So very much like the central planners of the last century, the UN likes to do things in bite-sized chunks. The communists in the Soviet Union used to have 5-year plans. Well, the UN's got 15-year plans. So prior to the Agenda 2030 UN Sustainable Development Goals, they had the Millennium Development Goals. Those covered from 2000 up to 2015. Agenda 2030 covers from 2015 to 2030. Again, it's a comprehensive plan over every area of our lives. It's kind of a subset of Agenda 21. And as the leaders of the United Nations made clear while this was being debated and adopted, they intend to leave no one behind. Actually, the head of the General Assembly, when this was being negotiated, Peter Thompson, called this the Master Plan for Humanity. The Secretary General at the time, Ban Ki-moon, called it the Global Declaration of Interdependence, which I believe was a direct attack on our National Declaration of Independence here in this country. So very, very significant. Again, it deals with every area. It deals with your health. It deals with the environment. It deals with our food systems. It deals with education. It deals with every possible area of life, very much like the Great Reset that the World Economic Forum would later propose. And so all of these actually work together. That's what people need to understand. None of these are independent. They're all working together ultimately for the same objective, which we described earlier in the program, a one world system where the sovereignty of nation states would be gone. Individual liberty, especially as recognized in our country as coming from our creator, would be abolished. And people need to be paying attention to this. We need to be having a national discussion about it. And yet there are very few places where you'll hear anything about this when it comes to newspapers and television, with a handful of obvious exceptions like NTD.
So interesting. So he's saying essentially that the ideas that the UN is posing is not good for all people, especially for Americans. I saw a couple of posts of, I think someone else was interviewed, or they made some points saying that they push back and some of the ideas kind of go against our constitutional rights, some of the things that they want to introduce. So like I said, it's going to be difficult to, and I said this, I tried to, actually, this is like the third take of my attempt to record this. Um, and during one of the takes, I had made a statement like, I think it was mentioned something, and I don't know whether it was an article or whether it was in a video, but they were saying when they were explaining it that basically they can take these tenets and they can implement it anywhere in the world. But when you have such a strong constitution like the US Constitution, maybe in a communistic society where, their person that's in charge, their president can kind of, he's the ruler, right? And he'll tell them what they can or cannot do. In the case of United States, we don't move like that. And because we are united in states or united by states, there are 50 and states have their own autonomy. So not even the federal can say, they can say, but it will be pushback. Oh, we should do this, right? They can say that. But the states can say, nope, we don't want to do that. We have our own autonomy. We have our own rights. The other states can, so within the 50 states, we have our own autonomy. We have our own governance. So it will be more complicated than just coming over and saying, hey, the UN has this really great idea of how we should take care of our environment. This is what we're going to implement to make sure that this agenda is accomplished. The state and or federal can be like, and the federal agreed, by the way, and we'll go to that in just a few moments, but the states can be like, no, we're not interested in that. That's going to cut into our economy. Or a business person or whoever has a monopoly in the area that's benefiting off the way things are may push back and say, nope, that's going to cut into my bottom line. We can't do that. And they can fight. They can fight in court and perhaps win. So the way that we're structured in terms of our governance makes it difficult for these things to be implemented because we can challenge them. We can challenge the constitutionality of those things that they're trying to implement. And so that's what we have right now. But that's not to say that things can't change on our end. And that's the part I think people are really concerned about, is people can kind of foresee there being changes within our constitution that will allow these things to eventually be put in place and reinforced, okay, as our laws, that we will be a greater community of people, of humans, and it will be one world governance and not just individual countries with individual ideologies and stuff like that. They want to make this one world concept. And many of us that believe in the scriptures believe that one day that that will be true. Now, everyone's kicking and fighting, not everyone, but I'll say there is a group of people, there's a segment of the population that they're fighting against that. They don't want that to happen. And so they're going to do everything within their power to, stall. You know what I mean? Fight, push back, try to hinder it. But after a while, if it's meant to be, it is going to be. So when you go to the website on UN, and I'm not saying that don't fight, I'm saying you should fight as long as you can to prevent it from happening. Because the moment that it happens, we do lose our rights. And so we want to try to maintain our rights as much as possible as citizens of these United States of America. Now, for some people, they'll be willing to make the exchange because their life is so bad. You know what I mean? And they don't, they currently have nothing. They're willing to implement those things and to accept those rules and things because they don't have any other choice. But for some of us that do have choice, almost feel like they're going to make it so that we won't have a choice. And I think that that's probably what the game plan is to make sure that we don't have a choice, because of the way things are, they're going to have to make it so. And many ways they can go about doing that, whether it's a man-made, something or another, and or nature. And there is some talk that the weather can be controlled. So it can be considered, even though if it's controlled by someone else, a natural disaster, or whether it be a man-made attack or something to that effect, where we're being drawn into a war or something devastating that happens, where people don't have any other choice but to just simply submit to the powers that be, and that way they can have their way and benefit, because of obviously the people doing what they feel like they have to do for survival. Because it's almost like we have to get to again it being a necessity of compliance. And I think that that's what the goal is, because as of right now, it's not a necessity. And so people are going to push back and fight back. So here, if you go to the United Nations website, you'll see the sustainable goals or development goals. You'll see them. Okay, so you can go to that website right here, and they just break down what the agenda is. They said the world leaders came together in 2015 and made a historical promise to secure the rights and well-being of everyone on a healthy, thriving planet. It was adopted again 2015, all the goals, the agenda, and etc. Now, what's interesting is I wanted to know who is the we, who are the world leaders that made that decision. So I found the list of world leaders. Okay. Now, I guess all the presidents have the right to appoint who they want. We have George Bush, we have Bill Clinton, we have George W. Bush, we have Ronald Reagan, we have Jimmy Carter. These are all the presidents on this side. We have Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon, Lyndon B. Johnson, John F. Kennedy, Dwight Hausener, Harry S. Truman. So it seems like it's all started with Truman's participation with United Nations around about 1946. Eisenhower, my bad, Dwight Eisenhower. All right, and so it started in 1946. That was the first president that participated. And then what they do is they appoint an ambassador. So these are the people that are serving on the behalf of the president, and these are their years of service. And obviously the names of the ambassadors. So we're going to scroll down to 2015 to find out exactly who was in charge during that time, who was the ambassador chosen by that current president, and who was the current president during that time. All right, so we're saying 2015, we're saying that President Barack Obama, he was the president during that time. Let's see. So he was obviously the president from 2009 to 2017. He served for 2 terms. And so his picks were, I believe, the gentleman from George Bush, carried on until 2009, January 2009. Of course, that's when Barack Obama came into office. So it was Susan Wright that became an ambassador. Um, because obviously the person that was previously was serving, and then when they change, you know, officers, when they change the president over, the new when the president is voted in, he comes into office, and then he chooses who he wants to represent our country. So Susan Rice served from 2009 to 2013, and then Rosemary, is it DiCario, served until, she didn't serve long, but from June 30th to August the 5th of the same year, she was acting, because I think Susan Wright she was given another job. All right, so she was acting, and then Samantha Power. I don't know, her name sounds so familiar. I don't know if she got caught up into something or she was like a spokesperson, but her name sounds extremely familiar. Um, but during that time, which was the 2015-ish, is when they came up with the agenda 2030. She was the one that was the ambassador during that time. All right, and then we have again the change of guard when Donald Trump voted in. He had his people. Okay, he had his people, and then when Joe Biden came in, he only had two folks. He had the acted person, which is Richard Miller. He was the acting individual. And then we have a person who is currently serving, and her name is Linda Thomas Greenfield. She is currently serving in that role. And again, these people that are serving as ambassadors, they are representing their country, and they're also representing the leader of that country. All right. And I'm sure there is communication with regards to the president's wishes with their participation. And I know that Trump talked about not participating in a lot of things globally. I think during his presidency, he didn't want to, I forgot exactly, what was it, the Paris something treaty or something agreement, Paris peace agreement or something. I think he didn't want to participate in a lot of the things. So he didn't play nice with the global community leaders. He really didn't, because I do remember during the time of his office, like they didn't really particularly care for him, nor did they respect him because he didn't play nice. But when Obama was in office, they loved him. And it was, all over the news. We saw, the different relationships that seemed to be formed, with President Obama during that time. And, just again, then when there was a change, obviously there was a change in tone in relationships, because personalities are different. And then Donald Trump had his vision. And so, but it's interesting, even though he didn't really, he expressed, that he really just didn't want to play nice with certain countries. There was at least one, two, three, four, five people that served as an ambassador. So I find that interesting, or at least four people, because I think, yes, Kelly Craft, she served until there was a change, and then so let me count it again on my bad. So one, two, three, four. Okay, so Trump had four people, but Biden only had two, and he's been in office almost the same amount of time. So with that being said, there still was representation at the table. You know what I mean? Even though around 2015 was the agenda for 2030, but there's been agendas going back to the 1940s, like 49, 1950s. There's been agendas by the UN. And so, and they've tried their best to push through their agendas and to fulfill their mission, whatever that was or is, or whatever the case may be. Let me see. Okay, I guess they're talking about some of the nuances of the ambassadorship. So you can find that easily on the Wikipedia page, the list of ambassadors of the United States to the UN or the United Nations, and easily find what it is that I'm looking for. So after I figured out who was currently the ambassador and who was the ambassador during that time, 2015, it just gave me more clarity. And then you can also look up, what their role is and things of that nature. So again, I really did not get a clear answer in terms of the pros and cons of this agenda. Unfortunately, I didn't get it. But I do feel and believe that this is something that we should keep our eyes on. And if anything is true that was mentioned on this particular flyer, if there is a great reset that they want to do and they want to form, I believe the one world government is something that they've always wanted to do, in addition to population control that has always come up in conversation as a talking point for, again, those that are at that level, because we've rapidly grown as a population like crazy. So, and then when you include, there's certain areas that are overpopulated, um, that could be very detrimental to any society. Because again, when there's an overpopulation, then there's not enough resources to get along, and that can also create more crime. And again, a lot of lack because of a lack of resources because of the overpopulation. So again, one problem creates another problem. So if any of these things are true that we've pointed out, then we need to be concerned. And then the question then becomes, is this the world we want for our children? The answer would be no. So then the question then becomes, what do we do about it? How do we fix it? Do we protest? That's our go-to. we immediately we go to protesting. But are there enough people outraged about this that will be willing to protest? I say no. I think not enough people know about this. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing it, is to bring awareness. Just like we talked about Agenda 21. Same thing with Agenda 30. I think we need to do our due diligence and find out exactly, what's going on with this. And like I said, there's a lot of information on their website. Please don't be shy about it. Go to their website and look it up for yourself. I always want to encourage people. Don't believe what I say. You go look it up, do your due diligence. Look it up and take your time and read, through each and every one of those points, because like I forestated, there's a lot of information. Um, if you go to just the agenda itself, it breaks down what the 17 goals are for, and then the promise that they want to keep, and then also all the different events, which is again, talks and conversation with regards to this. Is it working? A critical analysis, pros and cons, just a constant discussion of, the progress and what, then they also have reports as well, like how well are they doing. So again, these things, because they are a nonprofit, they do have to, disclose what's going on with this. And the truth of the matter is a lot of things are in plain sight. Like, they're not even hiding these things. They're not. They're just counting on us being so preoccupied with our lives that we don't even notice. And like I said, this thing has been in effect for at least almost 10 years, or soon to be 10. I'll say 9 years. Soon to be 10 years. This thing has been in effect. So that means that most of us have been sleeping for the last 9 years. We don't even know what's going on. And so, well, thankfully, we have this broadcast, right? So we can go ahead and do our due diligence. And sometimes, you know, you can be on a mission of trying to disprove something where, and then you may discover that you're glad that you went ahead and did your due diligence. Now you know that this is actually something good and not necessarily something that's bad. And sometimes the due diligence will help you to find the truth versus just believe everything that you hear and just assume that whatever they're saying is right and accurate and just kind of rolling with that and then repeating whatever you heard. I think it's only wise that you do your due diligence so that you can find out for yourself. And then once you have found out whatever it is that you needed to find out about it, then you can go from there, whether it's spreading or clarifying the misinformation, or whether it's just simply promoting it because you feel like it's a good idea. And so that's pretty much that. I just at least wanted to share this because I really do believe that these agendas that directly impact our lives, ultimately, we need to learn more about it. We need to have clarity with regards to this. And it's unfortunate that more people don't know, and a lot of people are in the dark. And that really does cause pause. It does, because anything that affects us as a society, we should be made aware of it. Even though there was representation of the US there at that embassy on that day that understood fully what their agenda was. I know that we had press release and they asked questions, but and there might have been some publications on the website, you know, the United States website with this information, but let's be honest. The country knows, the world knows that most of its citizens are not avid readers. And especially in this day and age where we have TikTok, we have all of these different apps and things that really deal with people with a low attention span, you know, and so therefore they're not going to be interested enough to watch an hour video, a 30-minute video. I think these rap beefs have helped because a lot of people have been going to these videos, watching these analysis and things and these commentary on the beef because they're interested in music, you know. So they're gonna sit and listen to, you know, a video talking about their one of their favorite artists or an artist that they hate. They're gonna sit there and watch because it's entertaining. Number one, and two, you know, again, it's piquing their interest. With something like this, people like, you know what? People are just trying to hype this up. Oh, it's a conspiracy. You know, people usually give their whys as to, you know, why we shouldn't, you know, get excited, why we shouldn't even look at. That's crazy if somebody tells you why you should look into it. Because again, if this is something we're adopting, which they made a decision in 2015, this is something that we've adopted. I feel like we should know. We all should know, and we should have a clear understanding with regards to what Agenda 2030 is. This we should not be in the dark about this. This is something that should have been circulated. This is something that you can distribute the information to the lowest of local levels, to the village level, to the town level. You know what I mean? And really begin to again send you know, materials, pamphlets, brochures, flyers to all the residents, informing them of this idea, this concept that will be implemented, that we are backing as a country in unity with the global leaders concerning this agenda. We should have known this stuff. Now, it's possible that it might have happened and, you know, if it was a flyer, it might have been discarded or thrown away, or maybe it was damaged when it got in the mailbox in the first place. Who's to say? But the point that we don't know anything, and I don't think they went out of their way to inform everyone that there's something that they should know about. And so here we are. All right, here we are. So I hope and pray that you're able to get this and that you're able to watch it in its entirety. And if you watched it until the end, make sure that you comment the end in the comment section. That will let me know that you actually watched the whole entire thing. All right. And then make a commitment to yourself to do your due diligence. And if you happen to be an influencer, if you happen to be a YouTuber or an Instagrammer or TikTok person or whatever, if you're on X, make your own video or just simply share. If you don't want to take your time, you don't want to talk about it, or you don't feel comfortable, then just simply share the video or share the information that I've shared in the video. And I think that it will be helpful to you and your family. Okay. Again, the goal is 2030. So, what are we going to do? When I say we, meaning the people that are often directly impacted by these decisions. What are we going to do to bring about change? That is the question. All right. So have a good night. Again, thank you in advance for every like, comment, all the shares, and the subscription. We appreciate you. We appreciate your blessing, the channel by your like and your subbing. All right. All right. You all take care, and I'll be sure to leave all the links in the description section for you to, again, do your due diligence and tell me what you think. Until next time, God bless you. Gotta go. Bye.